let me ask you, what would be your solution right now? So people, it seems really crazy what's happening with our border, right? Everybody knows that you have to have some kind of an orderly immigration policy. And my theory here at this show, what I've said was
wages were too high.
Wages are way too. So there's a tight labor market. And what Bernie used to say, just as recent as 2016, was that it's a Koch brothers policy to have open borders, to flood our country with low-wage workers to suppress wages. And right now it's a tight labor market. It's like 3.4 percent unemployment. And so that's one big reason why they're doing it. Also, they can't meet their military recruiting numbers anymore, as Dick Durbin admitted in the Senate. And so that's why he's pushing for a bill to allow illegal immigrants to join our military and then immediately give them citizenship. And so it's a very nefarious game that they won't fix homelessness. Why? Let's start there. Dennis, why do you think the establishment won't fix homelessness, and do you have a plan to address it?
No, homelessness is a great American scourge. I mean, I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, where people are begging for food and for money to buy food at freeway exits, where people are sleeping on street grates where heat's coming up in order to avoid freezing while they're outside in the winter. Homelessness is a disgrace. And, granted, there are mental health implications, but not anymore. I mean, you have families that don't have a place to live. Now, when I was growing up in Cleveland, there was a time when my family lived in a car. Just so your audience knows this, they may not realize it, where I come from, by the time I was 17, my family lived in 21 different places, including a couple cars. We were a big family, couldn't find rent, okay? That was 60 years ago and more. Today, it's much more of a problem in this country. People don't have shelter. It's an obligation of a country to provide shelter, and it's an obligation to provide jobs, and it's an obligation to keep wages up, and it's an obligation to be able to make service in the military honorable, so the people who live in this country understand that you can defend your country in many ways, but not necessarily the only way by going to war. You can't. That only if America is really threatened. And right now, we're threatened from within. The outside threat is nothing compared to the inside threat. And so I want to go back to the border issue, Jimmy, because this discussion raises it. My position, some people may think it's heartless, seal the border. You don't have a country if you don't have borders. People can't get into Canada, just walk over. It's not going to happen. You can't get over there in a boat or a plane. You're not going to walk across the bridge from to Ontario or from Niagara Falls. The immigration should be regularized, and we have gotten away from that. And as a result, it's not just that a plan to drive down wages, which Bernie Sanders pointed out, and perhaps a plan to get more people in the military, but it's also we've opened the borders for mules and drug cartels and anybody that wants to assault American cities with their illicit economic activity. And frankly, this whole thing about the border is a nightmare. And the fact that the Biden administration has let it continue, to me, is reprehensible.
What do you say? I've had people say when I make the case that, I've heard you just say it, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. But it's obvious that the billionaire class wants to have this open border for whatever reason. And
NATO's your country now.
And people tell me that, well, Joe Biden's spending more on border security than Donald Trump did. And I'm like, well, he's spending more on Ukraine security, too. That doesn't mean that's what that money's going for, right? That money is
more. That's worse than if he didn't spend anything. So
he's not. So again, so what do you say to that?
Have an audit.
Yeah, let's have it and find out where that money's going, right?
Really, exactly.
Okay, all right, that's great. Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Bend, Oregon, Portland, Seattle, Philadelphia, Avenel, New Jersey, Boston, Palm Springs, Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Berlin, and London. We're adding a second show in London. The first show sold out. See you there.